Alright, what's up, Dragon Brood? Y'all seem to like these little strategy breakdown on play, so I figured I'd do a couple more of these. And today we have another interesting one from the Dreamhack Regional Championships in San Diego, where somebody actually had to kill their own creature for a very strategic advantage. So let's go see what that scenario was and why it made a difference. Now, let's set the stage here, because there's a lot of things going on one side of the battlefield and not the other. Now, on Noah's side, the only things that really matter for this particular scenario is him having a copy of the new Wandering Emperor, right? And the reason that's important is Isaac doesn't have very many creatures right now, and it can basically keep his permanents at bay. But we're going to see a play here in a second that actually looks like it doesn't make sense, but is the exact right play for the scenario. Also, keep an eye on the life totals here, because this can also affect the play. That Noah is at 4, Isaac is at 17. So while Noah does have a lot of permanents, Isaac still has enough defense here to stay alive for a couple of turns because he's at 17 life. And Noah looks like he's down to 2 cards in the scenario as well. Now, after giving it a good think, Isaac decides he wants to attack with his goblin token that's going to generate a treasure here. Now, this might look a little silly because you're saying he knows he's not going to get through for that 2 damage, right? Because Noah's at 4 life, he's obviously going to block and has multiple options here on the battlefield. That being said, it actually is in Isaac's best interest for this creature to die anyway, because of the ability on the Planeswalker that we were just talking about. Now, the Goblin does produce a treasure. Noah quickly just kind of assesses the board and decides that, yes, I'm going to block just with what? Ultimately, he decides to block with 2 tokens just to not put anything else at risk, which is actually the smart way to do that and save your better creatures just in case. Now, as it turns out, Isaac doesn't really need the treasure or anything else. This was simply about getting his creature off the battlefield, so that he can actually just cast his Cruelty of Gix here, using the 3rd chapter just to reanimate an Atraxa that's already in his graveyard. Now, looking again at the Eternal Wanderer here, you can see that if we were to have kept both creatures on the battlefield on Isaac's side, Noah would be able to trigger the Eternal Wanderer's ability to actually exile everything else except for the 1 creature they choose. So they would have left Isaac with that token creature instead of the Atraxa. Now, the best Noah can do is just exile the Atraxa each turn, but it also just gives Noah more cards and more value. Oh, and be aware that this becomes even further complicated because of the fact that Isaac actually has a Plaza of Heroes. And since Atraxa is a legend, he can actually protect it here as well. So he's actually got a lot going on to save himself, to put himself in a critical position to win here, just because we were able to get that token creature dead. And the toughest part about this whole scenario is that even if Noah were to have seen the play, he still can't risk going too low because he's only at 4. So taking the 2 isn't really in his best interest. Yeah, and the unfortunate part here for Noah is that almost all of their removal happens to be sorcery speed, whether that's from the Planeswalker or from enchantments or anything else. So the best thing Noah could do here really under the circumstances would be to play a farewell. And since there's only a couple of copies in the list, Isaac just has to sweat a couple of cards. We go ahead and try to remove it, I believe with an ossification there. We go ahead and crack the Plaza of Heroes. And now Atraxa has a shield that lasts until the end of turn. So unless Noah can find significant flyers, not going to really have a way to win this one. Now Noah does actually play a flyer here, which is a 3/4 that would prevent enough damage to leave Noah at 1, I believe. Actually, that's incorrect. Atraxa doesn't have trample. Has a lot of other keywords though. And now going into Isaac's turn with Noah virtually tapped out, Isaac's going to get to look at a couple of cards to just find a removal card for an angel to try to seal up this win. But checks their hand, clears the path, decides to go ahead and just go for the throat, kill the angel, and that's ball game. And what makes that play particularly good is that it's kind of a weird scenario of you have to understand what your opponent's cards are capable of. Because while you might like playing the Atraxa regardless, you normally want to keep creatures back if they're just going to die. But in that scenario, you actually wanted your creature to die to protect your Atraxa from the only way it could possibly die on that following turn. Turns out, Noah didn't get the cards that he needed, and then that was all she wrote. So congratulations to Isaac, because that was a heck of a play that I don't think a lot of players would have particularly have made there. But if you want to see another cool play, check out this video.